All right. Well, JB, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. And to get things started, maybe you can tell the audience your name, your company, and a little background about you.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. I'm JB Badesi, and I'm the CEO and founder of Corlex Capital here in Atlanta, Georgia, a minority owned private equity firm focused on investing in franchise businesses, food and non food, focused on growth capital. But what makes us a little different is that we have a focus on operations. So we also operate franchises on behalf of investors to make it truly a passive investment for them.
Wow, that's really interesting. So, JB, our audience, a lot of our audience are in the franchise business or thinking about getting into franchising as an emerging franchisor brand.
Mhm.
So, would you maybe talk a little bit about your work in with? Do you work directly with the franchisor? I saw recent. It looked like acquisition of several. I think it was Wingstop franchises that you recently acquired. So would you maybe talk through how that all works?
Yeah, sure. So, we are here to help with not only the franchisor side, but for franchisees who have, trying to manage growth. Sometimes franchisees get ahead of their skis when they grow a little quickly, and that's always predicated on the back of success. We like to say that it's a different skill set to go from 5 stores to 15 to 50 to 500. Those could be different animals and different people that know how to tackle those animals. So we try to be there to help out with growth, and we're happy to do it with several brands, but most recently we're now a brand partner of Wingstop, and we're happy to be with them.
Great, great. So if I guess how do you? I'm always curious, just curiosity, how you identify potential partners, investments, acquisitions. How do you identify that? I'm not asking for the trade secrets, but just curious if someone's listening in saying, "Hey, JB, this sounds interesting. Maybe you'd be interested in what we're doing."
Sure. So yeah, I mean, there's some disciplines around the types of franchisors that we like. Again, it varies from whether it's food or non-food. But if we're to stay on the food side, which is probably 75% of our business, we like to see high off-premise business for one. We like to see 85 to 90% off-premise, especially in the current environment. So we like to see brands that have a strategy to stay around and stay open during things like COVID. So you've got a lot of delivery business, catering, takeout, that type of thing. We love it. The ability to order on an app and then it shows up at your place at DoorDash. Love that all day long. Very defensible in these types of markets. And then, of course, things that have a price point where, you can feed a family, if you, have to make it kind of stretch a bit in these times, and we get that. So there are a lot of different brands that have those qualities that we're very interested in, and we kind of stay focused in that area.
Okay, interesting, interesting. And I'd love to get a little backstory on you and how do you go from we're talking about your company right now and your investment company, but how do you get that started? What are some of your beginnings that I'd love to for you to share your story?
Sure, it's kind of an unconventional story, but a story nonetheless. But born in Jamaica, raised in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in a Mennonite farm town. Kind of humble beginnings that way. Began my career in investment banking, and was always focused in growth companies. And when I was on the public side as a trader, focused on microcap stocks. So there's always an affinity for growing businesses. When I left that for a while, I tried to start my own business when I was really young. And believe it or not, the biggest thing I struggled with was growth. I never thought that you could grow too quickly and that become a problem. And, that always kind of stayed with me. And I wish that I had had that support when I was coming up. Hence why I really like the franchise model. It's a great way to transition those who don't have the necessary operational experience in a prior life that want to be able to transition into that world with some support. So I've just had an affinity for that. But if you spend a lot of time in the growth capital sector of it, or the earlier stages of that platform, of that growth platform, the emphasis on operations are very, very strong, and they're very, very serious. So to identify other operators, sorry about that, to identify other operators that have that experience of franchise growth, I think is so valuable. So that's kind of what um, is the genesis of Corlex. It's matching up strong operators with those who can help out with growing franchise systems from franchisee sides.
Interesting. And so I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. And that's quite a going from Jamaica, Montreal, and now here in the States, and you're based in Atlanta, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
How and so as you and your team are now starting to look and grow your business, where do you see your company going? What's your vision?
Wow. Well, listen, our vision is to continue help in helping the management of growth. There are a lot of different brands out there that kind of stay in our lane as far as what our disciplines are with off-premise business, and also not to mention that have a strong social sensibility of their surroundings and supporting minority business. That's a big thing to us here too. We are an MBE, minority business enterprise, so there are great opportunities that check all those boxes. So, 5 years from now, we'd like to be involved with, several brands, growing with them, becoming good brand partners, good stewards of the brands, as well as providing investment opportunities for those who really want to invest in own assets where they can truly be a passive investor without having to run these things. So we could do it on their behalf. And I think it's an exciting runway for us in the next 3 to 5 years.
Interesting. And so by a passive investor, I'm interested in this. And if someone in our audience is listening and saying, "Oh, okay, JB, so passive investor, okay, this sounds like, every potential investor's dream." Okay. So I'm interested in, let's say, buying a handful of food franchises. And I want to invest in it, but I really don't want to run it. I don't want to operate it. I don't have that expertise. Is that where you and your company could come in to manage daily operations? How does that work?
Absolutely, absolutely. In some cases, it's even a bigger issue than that for potential investors that want to come in these spaces. So, it is the franchisor's responsibility to protect their brand, and to do so, they have to have operators that can run their businesses at an optimum level to show a good brand and show a good experience to the customer. So I understand and empathize the desire to keep that from a franchisor perspective or standpoint. But if you're somebody who's trying to get into a business where you're getting stonewalled by that because you haven't done it before, that can be very frustrating. This is a way to kind of get around that by piggybacking on the third-party management services that Corlex provides. So it's a way to also create that track record with some of the ways we structure some of these deals that allow you to start that button on building a track record for yourself, so that perhaps in a few years you're in a position to go out on your own and actually have a track record with an existing brand that you've been affiliated with or by ownership for the past few years or so. So that's a way that we tackle that to offer that service for those who don't necessarily qualify to have a franchise out the gates on their own.
Interesting. So do you, when you're going through this, our listeners are franchisors in many cases. Do you partner with franchisors? Maybe not, I should say, maybe more of a strategic partnership where you can help support franchisees in a system, or how does that relationship work?
Yeah, I mean, we're here to help first and foremost. If there is an opportunity to get involved in a system that has the opportunities to acquire existing restaurants where there is some space for growth, we welcome those opportunities. So that's typically the first step in how we're shown opportunities from the franchisor side. But we typically also get calls in from would-be investors that are like, "Hey, I tried to get into this system and I just didn't have the background that resided, but I really want one. Do you have any interest in going down that direction, JB? Are you guys looking to invest in those anytime soon?" Those type of conversations are starting to come up, and those are exciting for us too.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I know as part of this, I'd love for you to share your contact information, website, because I think I'd like to talk offline with you too. I think I have some strong referrals for you, and think we could be a great referral partner for you. But
Fantastic.
yeah. But in addition to that, the audience that's listening in, just real quick, what's a good way for them if they have an interest in contacting you? What's the best way to do that?
Absolutely. You can go to www.corlexcapital.com, our website, and you can click on the info at and reach out to us anytime you can.
Great. Great. Thank you. And well, JB, I'd love to get into the little formula or format for the show here.
Sure.
And so we have this interview process. We ask every guest the same few questions before they go. So I'd love for you to answer this idea of misses, makes, and multiplier. So we'll start first with the misses and maybe a miss that happened along the way that you could share something you learned from it.
Yeah. So like as I was mentioning earlier, one of the first businesses I started was a miss. Uh, I had a t-shirt company that I was growing, and it grew kind of fast, and I wasn't anticipating for that to happen. It was an online platform. E-commerce was fairly new. This is back in 2002, and I was building the plane while I was flying it, and then all of a sudden it got crazy. What did I learn from that? Take your time. Don't be in such a rush for the growth to come. It'll come on its own. And it's really good to try and get that platform and that foundation laid and set. And that will allow you to really manage the scalability, much more comfortable than I did.
Great advice. Great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And well, the fun part is talking about the makes. That's always the fun part, to talk about that. So, and your career is just decorated. If you were a soldier, you'd have just all the brass along and just all the pins and so on. So, share with us a little some of the makes along the way that you had.
Like I said, I first of all, thank you for saying that. I enjoy building things for one. That's just something that's a passion of mine. I even, believe it or not, I even build Lego. I'm a huge Lego fan, and I'll build Lego sets for hours and hours all night, and then when it's done, I'll go buy a new Lego set because I just like to build things. So over my span of my career, I've had the good fortune, and I'm humbled to be able to have worked on projects that we started from the beginning. I'm on my fourth startup business. We've started a few investment banks back in Canada. Uh, it was a great experience. Here, the same again. We launched Corlex about 3 years ago, in a great place, growing, and it's a great time to put all of those life experiences together to show what you can do and hopefully perform.
Great. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. And how about the idea of the multiplier? Some guests have shared some things they've done personally or professionally. When you think about a multiplier in your business or in your career or personal life, would you mind sharing something that you found helpful?
Yeah, believe it or not, I really believe in vision boards, and I think everything that's real and tangible, starts with a vision. So it's important to visualize it and speak into it and live it. And I think that kind of absorbs in your subconscious, and then you start working towards this even, passively. So I'm a big fan of those. I think people should have multiple vision boards. They should be very specific things. They should be very personal things. And the last thing I will say about a vision board, whatever's on there, if you can achieve it and attain it on your own, in a relatively short period of time, it's not big enough to be on your vision board. You know, Reach higher. Try and challenge yourself to have a little faith, and believe in what you have to believe to do what you have to be able to do, because that's really what entrepreneurship's about. You got to stretch yourself out there. Don't be afraid to fail. Um, Dream big. Dreams come true. Dream big. Vision big.
Great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And JB, before we go here, the last question we ask everyone is, what does success mean to you?
In its simplest form, success is the completion of a task. Just it's just a series of that over and over and over again. If anybody wants to experience what success is, just start something, commit to finishing it, and finish it. That's success to me.
I like that. I like that. Simple and yet so difficult. Uh,
Like most things in life.
yeah,
Simple,
yeah,
not easy.
that's
Simple,
right.
easy, right? But
That's exactly right.
yeah, that to me is the definition of success. And you know something, it's something that everybody can experience, you know, at their own leisure, at their own level, at their own time.
Hmm. Well, JB, one of the questions I forgot to ask you is about your company values, about being thoughtful and impactful, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
So I would love for you just to talk a little bit about that and where that comes from and how that applies to your business.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. Those are big buzzwords in this company, and they're big buzzwords in my life. Um, let's start with thoughtful. You know, when you're thoughtful, um, you haven't got to be the smartest guy in the room if you put in the time. You know, being thoughtful is another way of showing your respect and your time that you've devoted to something. So when you're really, really thoughtful, then you have the idea, you have the option, and the chances of being impactful are much higher. And I like the name, I like the word impactful because you haven't got to be large to make a big difference. And that's what I like the word about impactful. Everybody in our firm is impactful on all levels. And I come from a place that's very small, that's very impactful. You know, Jamaica is this big, and yet it gave us reggae music. It gave us Usain Bolt. It gave us Bob Marley. It's just very impactful. So that's just something that's resonated with me in my entire life. Always never afraid or intimidated to be small, to not to think that means that we can't, you know, make a big difference. Corlex is starting small. We're trying very hard to be impactful by being very thoughtful.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. I just when I read that, it really resonated with me. So I just wanted to hear kind of your opinion or your interpretation of what those words mean. And JB, just before we go here, is there anything you'd like to make sure you share with the audience that you haven't had a chance to say yet?
No, other than you know, I'm very, very honored to be a part of the franchise community here in Atlanta and across the states. We're excited to get out there and be as, you know, thoughtful, impactful, and helpful as we can in this industry. We think there's a good runway and a real need that we can serve by offering, you know, operations for franchises, food and non-food. So we're happy to be here, and if we can be helpful, please reach out.
Great. Well, thank you again, JB, for being here. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for this opportunity. It's been great, and thank you all. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I'm here.